The other day I was talking to my friend, her name is Daniela, and I was relating a story about how I had gone on an interview. I'm going on all these interviews right now to find a practicum site for my clinical mental health program. I'll be doing some hours with patients. And so I had just gotten off of one the night before with someone at an eating disorder psychotherapy practice. And we had a lot in common on paper. It looked like somebody that might make sense to work with. So I met with her, and this is not a paid internship. This is me getting my hours. This is really supportive of me and my growth and my coming into myself, right? It's not about the service to them specifically. It's just that they have to be, there has to be some simpatico. The reason why I emphasize that this is for me is because it's not a job where I'm being paid and I have to pander to them and I can choose whether I like it or not, but really I just got to do whatever they want. So I have a lot of autonomy and choice and authority over the decision of where I go, right? And so I get into this conversation. I realized pretty quickly the way I told my husband was she seemed dead in her soul. She just had this really terrible affect where she was just kind of like monotone and sort of depressed sounding, very, 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 very clinical. Anyways, I kind of knew at the outset. Didn't feel like a great fit. We continued to ask each other some questions. I think it was real easy for me to plug into what she needed and wanted for her practice because kind of been there, done that with the eating disorder stuff. And I just became more and more clear that I didn't want to work with her. I didn't even want to ask her the questions that, would potentially let her know if I was that she was a good fit for me, because I had already decided. I'm like, she's got a really bad vibe. I don't want to work with her. And so during that conversation, I never I never indicated that. I didn't ask the questions that I might have had I been really interested in having a good back and forth with somebody, but I never said, no, thank you. I don't think this is right for me at this time or anything like that. And I was telling my friend Daniela about this, and she asked me such a beautiful question. She was like, what do you think that was about? Or why do you think you did that? And it has just seeded something for me that I'm so interested in. It's something that feels like really revelatory for me. And the answer I gave her was, I think it's habit. Um, I think it's habit. I'm used to pandering to people. I'm used to being able to decide and determine what another person wants and kind of merge with that, right? Without like being really, okay, this is what I need, this is what I want, and this is how I want to like go about the world and not whatever it is that they've got going on. And so this book that I've been reading called Fawning by Dr. Ingrid Clayton is talking about the fourth nervous system response that can happen with uh, sympathetic nervous system activation when the body or person is threatened and feels unsafe. We can go into fight, flight, freeze, but there's a fourth, much less commonly understood and talked about response that we're starting to understand more, and it's called fawning. And with fawning, it feels, it seems that they're coming to understand that there's a response, a correlation with what we call complex trauma as opposed to simple PTSD. So trauma is a whole thing. I'm not going to get into all the different ways that we can experience trauma or all the ways that it's like currently being presented in popular culture as well as like the scientific literature. It's too big of a topic. But suffice it to say that in the DSM-5, one of the things that they are clearly and obviously missing is the work that has been done around complex trauma. It's not listed as a DSM disorder in any way, shape, or form. So complex trauma is relational trauma. It's also been called childhood trauma. It's when the way that you have had to exist in the world was to conform to other people's needs in order to keep yourself safe, which by definition required you to betray yourself or to abandon yourself. And this has been my experience. It's something I've done a lot of work around already, but just the fact that it's coming up in the popular culture, it's circling in therapeutic communities, and it's not recognized like as this is an actual thing. Like, words have power, and one of the things that we can do to take back some of that power as people who have been at the odds of systems, families, cultures, institutions that created complex trauma in an individual is to name it and to clearly state what's true, right? Anyways, I could go on and on and on. This is such an exciting, like, for me, but yeah, I just wanted to bring this up as something extremely interesting that I'm learning about, that I'm struggling with, that I'm like contending with, and what I'm learning that exists from sort of the current standpoint, and then like what's coming up, like the newer information that's always been there, but like we just have to get to naming and incorporating these things into our current existing paradigm so that we can help more people. Thank you.